This is Monday, 24th of September 2016. This video is going to be all about my kids, and by extension why I'm trying to live. So just to recap, I'm in a situation where basically the doctors at the general hospital have said I need to have treatment to try and extend my life a bit, but as far as they're concerned, my cancer is terminal, incurable. It's going to kill me probably in about a year, or within a year, and that means maybe 6 to 8 months being relatively healthy, and then as the cancer starts to spread and the treatments are unable to work anymore, which typically happens, I then become kind of rapidly deteriorating and to be dying in hospital. And cancer is an unpleasant death. I've seen my mother-in-law die of cancer over a 6-month period when basically she couldn't be treated any longer, and it's really, really bad. There's no such thing as like a nice natural death from cancer. When you hear about these anti-medical people saying don't have any treatment, just die peacefully at home, that's absolute bullshit from what I've seen. One of the main ways you die of cancer is starvation, because the cancer metabolizes it basically gets more nutrition from the food than the other parts of your body, so you just waste away. That's pretty unpleasant. So anyway, that's the situation I'm in, although other medical people have said fight for a cure. It's still possible that if I can keep getting the funding for immunotherapy, that's something that might just continue shrinking the tumours until, maybe not until they disappear, but until they're small enough that the cancer is said to be in remission. And that could give me quite a few more years, and then a cure might come along. Or it might open some options for surgery, which I'm really want to avoid. But maybe a non-surgical method. There's a way of treating the liver, the cancer that spread to my liver, called CyberKnife, which uses very, very precise, very narrow beams of radiation, I think gamma radiation, to destroy tumours. And it's essentially side effect free. You go in, I think you can even do it wearing your normal clothes, or probably in Japan they'd make you wear a hospital gown because they're just into that kind of thing. And you lie on a bed, it takes about half an hour or something. You might have to go back a few times to the hospital, maybe a total of 5 times. And these narrow beams of radiation just destroy the tumours and hardly damage any of the rest of your tissue, so that's potentially an option in the future. Should be amazing. Very, very expensive. I'd probably need to do another separate fundraiser for that. But anyway, this video is really about my children. They're the main reason I'm fighting to live. As far as I'm concerned, I'm not bothered about my life anymore, really. I've had a pretty good life. Short, fucking short. But it's been good. I've been to lots of countries, I've met lots of people, done lots of good stuff. But the reason I'm fighting to live is to be with my kids. Especially to be with my son, not because I love him more than my daughter or anything like that, but just because he's sort of 4.5 years older than my daughter. I'm very, very close to him. And so, my son is Edward. He's 7 years old. He'll be 8 years old in February. My daughter's Jessica. She's just turned 3 years old. Jessica's a very confident, assertive girl. She copies everything her brother does, basically. She's a pretty tough, robust kid. Very, very, very clever. I've often heard girls often do develop a bit earlier than kids, than boys at a young age. Because Edward is homeschooled, she spent a lot of time with Edward. She usually goes to nursery school a couple of times a month. From April she'll be going, I guess, maybe 4 hours a day, something like that, 4.5 hours a day. But at the moment she's basically with Edward a lot, so she copies him a lot, tries to do what he does. Yeah, just a really lovely, lively girl. Likes the kind of things that all children like. She likes being read to, loves looking at books together, likes watching DVDs. She likes The Clangers, which is an old British TV series from early 1980s, I believe. An Oliver Postgate series. He did Bagpuss and Over the Engine. Those kind of classic British things. And yeah, she's very typical, assertive young lady. Yeah, really fun to be with. And she has very interesting use of language. Speaks Japanese and English fluently, as does my son Edward. We've been very careful to make sure that they're truly bilingual, so a lot of international kids here, their Japanese doesn't sound like native Japanese and their English doesn't sound like native English. But with my kids, we've made a lot of effort to make sure that they do speak two languages as natives, native level. Edward, 7 years old, very interested in the world. Obviously both my kids have been to England quite a bit. Before Jessica was born, we took Edward to Germany for a hacker conference. Oh no, actually maybe Jessica was born then. Was a baby, yeah. And so he's been to Germany. When he was a baby, we took him to the Netherlands just for. We were just travelling via the Netherlands to get to England by boat. He's been to Greece. I didn't join that trip, unfortunately, because I just my big tumour had just been discovered. I regret not going on that trip, but it was to the island of Corfu where the medical care is no good. So if I had a problem, it would have been helicopter flight to the mainland or something. But still, I do wish I'd joined that trip. Yeah, Edward likes reading, he likes writing, likes a diary most days. He's interested in the natural world and how things work, very interested in people, what they're thinking, why they do the things they do. Asks me lots of questions to which often I have to answer, people do that because they're idiots. So he's developing a healthy cynicism as a result of that. And yeah, I just want to be with my kids because I like being with them, but also for them as well. I want to be with them as much as possible and for as long as possible, so that's why I'm really fighting to live and fighting to find a cure. My cancer is technically incurable now. It doesn't mean it's incurable in the future. I think some of my friends and even family struggle to understand that, but you know, just because a doctor says something is terminal, that's talking about now. And in fact, for cancer, it's not even talking about now, it's talking about years in the past. If someone really says, you know, you have 1 year life expectancy, that means people who had cancer a year ago are dying now. But cancer treatment's improving quite rapidly. So, you know, I'm in with a chance of a cure. Basically, it could even be, if I can keep getting the funding for immunotherapy, that in itself will be a cure. Immunotherapy doesn't cure many people, but it cures some. Complete cure. Cancer. Basically, the cancers get so small, they don't show up on the scans anymore. I could have some exploratory surgery where they don't do any surgery, but they just open you up, put the cameras inside, look in and see what tumours and stuff they can see. So it's possible that just continuing with what I'm doing now would cure my cancer. It's going to cost an insane amount of money because it's like £15,000-20,000 per cycle of 6 immunotherapies, and I need basically 4 of those a year. So like £60,000 to £80,000 a year on medical treatment for a few years if I do live that long. But that would be amazing to cure the cancer without surgery. It would just be incredible. Or it could be that the immunotherapy just keeps me alive a bit longer and another cure comes along. A new drug, a new type of powerful, low side effect chemo, or something completely different. Maybe CyberKnife will develop enough to just go in and remove all the cancers in the body. You know, there's a lot of possibility, a lot of, as I said before in videos, no reason to be optimistic. Things are not going to magically happen, but there's reason to be hopeful. Scientists and doctors are actively developing this kind of thing, these kind of treatments. They're not developing them as quickly as they should, particularly the immunotherapy, because immunotherapy can only be developed without drug companies. Basically, there's no money in it. There's no way to put a profit margin on something where the basic cost is so high. You know, drug companies make huge profits on drugs because the cost of manufacturing drugs is so low, and initially they are just recouping all the development costs, but that wouldn't be true with immunotherapy. There are massive development costs, but there's no scope for it becoming cheap. So anyway, I hope I've explained a bit about my kids. I'll try and get my son to do a video with me in the future. Apologies again for not looking in the camera. The camera's like at the top of the monitor, obviously, and that's where webcams usually are. But if you can help me, please do. I am desperate, I am begging. If you can make a donation, matthewdons.org, it's MATTHEWDONS.org, and if you can share these videos, it helps a lot, and click like and write a comment and the usual stuff. It does make a big difference. And when you share it, please, please, please at least write a sentence on your post, because if not, just people don't see the videos and people don't click. Thanks a lot for your help. Appreciate it. Bye.